I need a little something cause I'm feeling like I've run out of faith. Running out of faith. I need a little something cause I'm feeling like I've run out of faith. Running out of faith.
All right. So yeah, thanks so much for taking the time to chat. Really exciting. Yeah, congrats on your new EP, Human. Yeah, absolutely stunning. I think, yeah, what's so amazing about your music is it's so timeless, so it's so easy to fall in love with. And your voice is completely out of this world.
Thank you. Thank you. It's very kind. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely excited to get started and chatting about the EP. So yeah, how did you land on the name of the EP, Human?
The name Human. I think for me, I had got to the end of the project and I was like, what is the common thread here? Like listening to the songs and kind of just jotting down like what's the theme of this song. The thing that I guess kept jumping out to me was I feel like these songs almost capture, or there's like it encapsulates what it means to be human. Like, you know, there's songs about grief and loss, and there's songs about falling in love and being in love and navigating relationships and experiencing these deep emotions. And so I guess there was, on one hand there was that, and then I guess my journey the last few years, we've had COVID, and that's enough said there. And I feel like I have been learning and coming to the realization more and more that I am human. And I know that sounds so lame because of course we are all human, but it's like I'm realizing like I have limitations. Like I can't do everything. I cannot be everything to everyone. I can't just pretend that things are okay if they're not. And so I guess like I've been on this journey of realizing, Georgia, you're human. Like it's okay, just be human. Just be human. Feel what you need to feel. You know, feel the emotion, feel the sadness, feel the grief, feel the loss, and then feel the joy and feel the goodness and all of, you know, all of the feelings and all of the emotions. And so I felt like Human perfectly just captured, you know, the songs, but then also like the journey for me the last, you know, year writing this. And so yeah,
super exciting. I think we do put a lot of pressure on ourselves as human, being like, you know, why are we thinking this way? Why are we feeling this way? Like it's not okay to feel these things, but I think in the end we are, as you said, all human, and it's okay to feel the way we feel and decide on things that we do. So yeah.
And I feel like we're getting better at acknowledging that. You know, I feel like there's a lot of conversation about it, and a lot of people like learning to be vulnerable and learning to, I guess, tap into their feelings. Like, you know, I mean, feelings is like a very surface level word, but there's a lot more conversation around it, which is wonderful.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'd love to run through like track by track of the EP and just go through each of the songs. So yeah, first song of the EP is Save Me. Such a beautiful track. I love how it like slowly builds, and then it really showcases your like powerful voice at the end as well. So yeah, how did this song come about?
This was, I think, maybe one of the first songs that I was like, this needs to be a part of the project. Like I'd been writing songs before then. This Jason Shushkov and I, which we've done a bit of writing together, we'd written this song and we went into the studio, and both of us were like, look, let's not even think about production. Let's not think about how the song needs to sound, what it needs to be, how to dress it up. Let's just focus purely on the song. And so we spent the whole day, you know, writing and just asking the question, like, is this what I want to say? Can we say this in a way that like reveals something even more honestly and more vulnerably? And so I feel like in terms of songwriting, like we really dug deep, and I've spent a lot of time, even, you know, developing the piano riff. Like I've spent a lot of time playing that thing. You know, Jenny's like, nope, not right. It doesn't have the right emotion. I'm like, cool as, man. So yeah, Save Me. That was kind of how we were writing the song, and we're having this conversation, it's like, I don't know if you get like this, but you know, when you're overwhelmed with emotion and you make not the greatest decisions.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, I wish I didn't do that when I was feeling tired, exhausted, fill in the blank. No?
Yeah.
And so we were having this conversation where I was like, man, I just feel like when I get overwhelmed with emotions, often late at night, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, and when I wake up in the morning and I'm often feeling better, I'm like, someone could have just helped me out there. And so this was like the conversation we were having of like dealing with your emotions, navigating your emotions, almost as if it's this thing that you're facing, and that was where save me from myself, you know?
Yeah, right. I definitely have been in those situations where you're acting on emotion, and you're like, at the time you just want to put all your decision making processes through that emotional stage, but sometimes you just gotta sleep on it, and then in the morning it's a different story.
100%. Yeah, agreed.
And Nothing But Love is the next one, which is a bit different. It's like this amazing upbeat pop track, which is so cool, and the chorus is super catchy as well.
The chorus is so fun. I love it. And the bridge, I think, in terms of like the holy, I mean, there's a lot of things on the EP that I really love, but there's something about the bridge on that song that I feel like I tap into this like Madonna kind of vibe, 100%. And I'm just real into it, and I'm like, yeah. Nothing But Love. I went to Sydney basically the week before the EP was supposed to be done, signed off, mastered, no more changes. Yeah. Went to Sydney and I did this session with Xavier Dunn and wrote the song. It was the last day of my 5 days of writing, and I was kind of in my head, I'm like, I'm writing for the next project. You know, I'm not writing for this EP. Yeah. And take the pressure off myself. Yeah. And we wrote this song and I was like, man, there's something really cool about this. I think this is really cool. And all I had was like a video on my phone of, you know, us in the room just like singing the chorus. And I got home back to New Zealand and I kept like listening to the video and kept going back. And I was like, to my team here, I was like, I really think this needs to be on the EP. Like, we hadn't even heard the demo. It was just like off the phone recording. And the demo came through, and you know, my manager Mikey, he rang me and he's like, I think the song needs to be on the EP. And I was like, yes, it 100% does. And at that stage, like, the second verse hadn't been written. It was still like a 70% finished song, and that was the Friday, and we had to hand everything on the Tuesday. And so it was like a mad Zoom sessions, you know, Friday night trying to finish the lyrics and finish the writing, and then Saturday morning I drove back to Tauranga and recorded the vocals, and we sent them back over to Sydney and like finished this track. And man, I'm so glad we did. Like, I think it carries something that, you know, the EP really needed, in terms of it's not as wild, and I don't know if I want to use the word weird, because there's a happy medium as Faith. I feel like it sits in a little pocket that the rest of the songs didn't have, and so it was like about that. And just, I mean, the song is all about navigating, you know, when you're traveling and you're like, I feel like I was constantly on the road and playing shows, and my husband's at home, and I was like, man, we're having to really learn how to, you know, navigate a relationship in the distance and navigate doing life really, you know, together, when you're not in the same rhythm and routine. And when I come home and I re-enter back into his rhythm and routine of somewhat normal, you know, it takes that adjusting. There's like an adjustment period, I feel like, of a couple of days, and then you're like, oh, it's all good. But often, like, we have this conversation, he's like, what do you need from me? And I'm like, just need love. You know, that's me in my tired, emotional, you know, exhausted state. I'm like, just all I need is love. What does that mean? Can you just give me a hug, or like, you know, can you make me dinner or something? And so this was the conversation that we were having, and I guess what Nothing But Love is like all about.
Love it. Yeah, no, it's interesting what you were saying. Yeah, there are always moments when you're like, I just need a hug. I just need a little bit of attention, and
I
then
just
you
need.
go back to your own thing.
I'm just gonna sit on the same couch as you while
Yeah.
you
Yep.
watch the Warriors,
Yeah.
and I'm just gonna sit here and I'm just gonna just be like
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
cat. That's me. I'm like a little kitten. I'm just like,
I love
be
that.
close.
So good. And yeah, interesting what you were saying about how, you know, you had that pressure off you, so you didn't have that, obviously,
Yeah.
like stress of needing to
I need to write for the
write
EP.
something. Yeah.
Yeah,
And have you
sure.
found like sometimes that it is easier to write when that pressure is off, or it kind of depends on the moment?
Kind of depends, because sometimes, I mean, to be fair, if I was like, I've got to write for an EP that comes out next week, you're probably going to produce a really forced song.
Yeah, 100%.
You know?
Yeah.
But then I also really enjoy, I mean, this may be kind of strange, but I do enjoy the pressure in terms of, I don't mind going into the studio and being like, cool, you just got to go into the studio and you're writing, and that's, you just got to turn on the tap and you just do your job.
Yeah.
But it does produce a very different type of song than, you know, it's a whole different process to when you're like, I'm writing something, I'm feeling really relaxed, and I've got something to say and I've got something to write about.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all of these songs on the EP were like, I've got something to say, I really want to say this, I need to write about this, rather than like, what are we going to draw from today, you know?
But yeah, as you mentioned, Faith, that's the next one on the track. Such a fun song, super groovy, massive production, like, yeah, definitely a highlight for me, for sure. So yeah, how did this song come about?
This one, I was in a writing session with Joe Ferris, and I don't know if he likes to be called Joe or Joseph. We'll run with both. We had been trying to tee up this session for ages, and then I had got COVID, and so I had to pull pin, and you know, we finally got the session sorted, and we wrote the song. Same thing again with Save Me. We really wanted to focus on the writing, so I'm like, man, I feel like I write better when I can focus on the song, develop a really good song. So when you play it by itself, just piano, it's like a really solid song, and it can stand on its own two legs, rather than needing like the production to hold it together. And so we written the song, we'd been working on the song, and same thing again, got the demo back, and I was like, man, there's something really fun about this song. And we hadn't done all the production, like it was just like minimal. And so we kind of went backwards and forwards, and he worked on the production and then sent me stuff. And obviously, I mean, I feel like it's so fun. There's so much in it. There's these beautiful stacked harmonies, this Prince vibe happening. There's this real rhythmic, like, vocal, which I'm such a fan of. And yeah, I mean, I love it. I think it's so fun. And the video just got released as well today. And we've literally finished editing that this morning.
Oh, wow. Quite turnaround.
Right, yeah, we filmed it on Monday, and it is now Friday, and so we've had a 4-day turnaround, which is amazing. And yeah, I mean, the video, I feel like there's the bright color, and obviously I'm dancing. There's this fun, like, sassiness to the video that I think just like pairs so well with the vibe of the song and the production, and it's fun. Like, and in terms of like what the song's about, I guess, you know, when you're like feeling really frustrated and you're waiting for something to change, whether that's in a relationship or whatever, and you're like, I need change, the change isn't happening, and you're like, I'm actually running out of faith with change, like, I need something, like, give me a bone here, you know?
Yeah, sometimes you've just got to wait and just cross your fingers and hope that it's going to all work out. But yeah, normally it does, so that's a good thing. Next one on the EP, Moon Soda, with the amazingly talented Alex James. Really such a magical duet. How did the collaboration come about for this one?
So cool, right?
Yeah.
He is actually also managed by my manager, and for so long Mikey, who's my manager, was like, I want you guys to do a duet. Like, can you write me a duet? Like, guys, you gotta write me a duet. And so Alex and I had kind of been like, we'd tried to do a session at a parachute riding camp, and half an hour into the session, basically there's like heaps of people and they all get split up into different rooms every day. And half we were like, oh, we can do our duet. We're like, we've got the time. We're in the room together with the producer.
Yeah.
Half an hour into the session, they came up and they're like, oh, so-and-so hasn't turned up. Georgia, we need to move you into this session. Because there was like not enough people kind of, spread out. And so Alex and I were like, oh, another time. And so we ended up putting aside this time to do the session. And we were like, we're just going to see like what happens.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like this needs to be released, this needs to go on anything. We're just going to take the pressure off ourselves and just write together. And so we did the session with Rory Noble, and I love the song. I love it. I think same thing again. It sits in a pocket of the EP that the other songs don't have. The fact that it's obviously a duet and Alex's voice is absolutely, it's like butter. You can never have too much. It was actually after the first lockdown, and so we were like talking about how lockdowns had been, and you kind of, there's one of the line in the song, it's like, remember the times we shared stuck inside after like all those nights, all of the fights we had, we'd laugh them off because we don't mind. And so it's, I guess, this like beautiful love song, this, obviously being a duet, you can kind of view it as a conversation between two people, which I really like, because I think when you can do that within songwriting, it's like adds a cool depth to the song. And so yeah, we wrote that song together, and I love it. It's beautiful, it's fun, it's really special. I think it's so fun, and I love, like, I would do anything for you, like wait in line. Like, no one loves to wait in line. Like, people hate lines.
Worst thing. No, I would not want to wait in line. But
when you're just like in love with someone and you're just like, I would do anything to just have a moment with you. Like I would be a real inconvenience to my own schedule, drive anywhere to bring you what you need and be that person that you need. And so that's kind of like, that's the feeling of the song, is like, obviously being called Moon Soda, like I would go to the moon just to have a soda with you. Like, I would do anything. I love it. It's cute. It's a cute song.
Such a cute song. Yeah, no, I absolutely love it. And also great that you were able to make the time to like make that collaboration come out. And I guess having that time where you were like, oh, actually we aren't able to do this today, and making you realize like, oh, actually maybe we should write something together.
Totally.
Yeah,
for sure.
And one more track on the EP, the last one but not the least, I think a really nice way to end the EP as well, Leave Behind, and the strings on that also sound so incredible. What was the process like with this one?
Leave Behind was actually written at that parachute riding camp, and it was right after my papa had passed away, and I was like, I really want to write about this because I feel like it's all I can think about. Like, my brain space had just been taken up by like losing him and navigating that, and we were packing up his house. I was kind of like in these two headspaces of back in Tauranga and being like, oh, my family's packing up, all of their belongings and putting into boxes and dealing with that. And I was looking after the Facebook marketplace, selling all the things. And so while I was in the session, I was getting people like, hey, would you take this for $20? Da, 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 da. And I'm like, no, like, don't you know that these things are valuable to people? And like, anyway, so I was having this conversation in the session, and I was like, I'm packing a person up into physical boxes, like their belongings, the ties, like he had so many ties. We're packing all your things up into boxes, and like the remains of a human being, of their life, is in boxes. And we're giving it away, we're throwing it away, we're selling it on Facebook Marketplace, we're sending it to the op shop, where, and I'm like, so what is, like, now the person's gone. Like I feel like we're packing everything up and we're throwing it away. Like, what is this kind of all for? Like, and so that was the conversation that I was internally having, of really struggling to grieve and really struggling to let go and process losing him, and process physically having to navigate, you know, packing up his things and packing up him, and the physical process of like what grief actually looks like in terms of when you lose someone and you have to deal with the loss. And yeah, and so then leave behind, like I feel like my absolute heart is in that song. Like I just left it out on the field. The vocal that's in there is the vocal from when we first wrote it. And you know, it's not often, I mean, sometimes that happens, but it's not often that you leave the demo vocal in there, because you're like, I'm gonna go back and change that vocal. But
Exactly.
the emotion that it carried and the feeling that I guess it captured on that day of writing the song was like, we can't replicate that. And so yeah, we had the song, we had it for about 2 years sitting in the Dropbox folder.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, it's time. It's time, you know, like it's a very big, emotive, ballady song, and I was like, there's a time and a place for it, and I think I'm ready to release it. And so I feel like it was the perfect end to the EP, the perfect way to kind of just, you know, it goes from 0 to 100, this beautiful like bigness at the end that I really love that the EP finishes on that too. So yeah, that's the EP. And
it's such a stunning song, and I guess it perfectly fits into that human theme that you were obviously talking about with the title. So yeah, it's an amazing collection of songs, and you must be so proud to release it.
Yeah, I am. I feel really proud of myself. I mean, it's a really scary thing, delving deep and being like, what are people going to think? Like, what if people misinterpret what I'm trying to say? And I'm like, well, actually, that's not my responsibility. I'm not in charge of how somebody may or may not receive my work, may or may not, they may not like it. As long as I'm really proud of what I'm, you know, doing and what I've done and what I'm releasing, that's all I can do. And so I feel that like releasing it today, I was like, just felt like the biggest. I mean, I've never birthed a baby, so I feel like I can't use that analogy, but it feels like I'm birthing a child. You know, there's this big period of you're growing this thing, and it's festering away in there. Not that a baby festers away in the womb, like, you know what I mean? It's mulling over it, and you're sitting on it for such a long time, and to finally have it out, man, it's so good. And because I feel so proud of the songs, I just feel like I'm really happy like that people finally get to listen to it. I'm like, guys, I made this thing, it's really cool, you should listen to it.
So great. And I think the next step, I guess, is you've got some gigs coming up. So you've got one in Total now and one in Auckland next week. So you must be pretty excited to perform these songs. I'm so excited. And all of these shows, like, I keep saying this, I'm talking it up so much, but I feel like it needs to be, like, I think they're going to be the best shows I've ever done. Like, it's the amount of work and prep that has gone into these 2 shows. I think it's going to be insane. Like, not just musically, like visually, like all of the elements. Like, I'm really, really excited. And I've never been able to do a release party because the first EP was released in lockdown. And I'd had this whole EP release party planned and then had to pull the pin. And so I feel like I've kind of thrown all this energy that's been sitting and simmering away for the past few years. I'm like throwing it, you know, into this, and I'm like, man, we've got to like make this like go out with a bang. Like, we're gonna hit it hard. And so I'm really excited. Thursday, Friday next week. Yes. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to chat and talk about the EP.
No worries.
And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. It's stunning. it's going to be on repeat all weekend, I think.
Yay,
But yeah, it's going to be great to hear it live next week. So yeah, I'll see you there.
Yay, thank you.
Amazing.
See you next week. Fun.
Cool. Sounds good. All right.
Awesome. See you later.